Hello, this is Emmanuel M here, also known as Kiki or Kiki Jiko. And then we have Innocent Oketa, my co-host, and we're here to discuss education today on the Roaming Roots podcast. So this is the Roaming Roots podcast. Today's segment is on education, our series on education, and we're going to look at different approaches to education, and we have a lot of areas in terms of education, how we achieve it, how we use it, what is useful and what is not, what's the fastest method of getting there and not. So without further ado, let's welcome our co-host, Innocent Oketa. Innocent, do you want to say something?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I think you've put it out nicely. Yeah, we're here today just to discuss education. We're trying to, compare, contrast, and discuss different types of education and trying to see, maybe between formal and informal. And hopefully you can learn a lot from what we discussed.
So Innocent, I was just looking up here something a little bit as we were discussing. I was just looking up one of the names that you mentioned. You mentioned this Dangote guy. How did he obtain his education? I think you know more about him than I do.
Yeah,
Dangote.
Dangote is a Nigerian billionaire. So he's actually one of perhaps one of the he's in the Forbes list actually of billionaires in Africa. Actually, black billionaires, in fact.
Yeah.
He has more money than Oprah.
Actually, the richest person in Africa, period.
He is, yes. He's worth billions of dollars, his net worth. He started his business in, I think in cement. He's doing business in cement, and then delve into oil and gas and so many other things. He's a person who used his network and his knowledge of business to build wealth. So for while formal education can be
right
useful, it's not the only way to succeed in life. And in some cases, I would even say it might bring you, depending on what kind of a person you are. I would say, it might bring you down. There's some people that actually do not need a certain level of formal education, in my opinion. It's like some people who are really talented, highly talented in certain things, may not need too much formal education. And if you throw them in formal education, they may not even succeed. And then that brings depression, and they give up easily on life. But meanwhile, that person really didn't need it. They didn't need to go and get that extra loan to study through 4 years of college, only to do something that they themselves would have learned quite easily by apprenticeship.
Yeah. And we are looking at which one is the best method to acquire education quickly, the fastest and most practical.
Yeah, I think we were looking at that, and I think it depends on the person, your personality. It depends on your goals. It depends on what you actually have the passion for. Like if you have, let's say, the passion for computers, learning about computers, writing code, those kinds of things, you probably don't need a lot of formal education for that. Formal education is fine, it will help you. But if you have that kind of a passion, then maybe the quickest way for you to go through would be self-study. Give that person the right books. Maybe you start with foundational mathematics, because if you want to be a good programmer, then you need to learn some of the foundational math, like algebra, discrete mathematics,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe a little bit of calculus too, so that you can understand the algorithm behind the programs you're trying to build. And once you do that, and you start with either Python, which is an easy language to work around and learn, and you can find that in a short time you're able to accomplish a lot more than what somebody who's in college is accomplishing. Because in college they'll be made to take they're going to take that discrete math, they'll take linear algebra, and they'll have to take calculus, both 1 and 2, and then in some cases they'll be forced to take differential equations, some kind of more math to go, and then other computer science classes which you would have to go through as well. By the time you're actually learning how to build very efficient programs, you're probably maybe 2 years in, 3 years in college. Yeah, around that time, I think 2 3 years, you're probably not going to have enough time for side projects, because we're talking like at least 35, 40 hours a week of class, and then in labs, and then assignments after that. So maybe give it another 50. So the total maybe 50 hours of working through your stuff. And when are you going to have time for yourself to build your own thing that you actually like, to solve your own problems? You're probably never going to have that time, which is why people like Zuckerberg, uh, Bill Gates, and others in the computer world, in the tech world, have decided to simply leave school, you know, to drop out in the middle
Yeah.
and go pursue their own passion.
Their interest in the first place, like exposed to the technology earlier on, or were they given the tools, and they
Yeah,
had the tools
yeah,
available, and they had figured out how to make things work?
yeah. This guys were given the right tools early on, or they found the right tools early on. Take an example, somebody like Steve Jobs, Apple, founder of one of the founders of Apple.
Mm-hmm.
you know he grew up in an era, a great era of revolution in the computer industry.
Mm-hmm.
People were just operating systems were coming up. Bill Gates was building his Microsoft, and then he started Apple. And even though he started it in the garage, he still had a good network of great like-minded people who are already, like his friend Steve Wozniak, who was uh, more interested in the hardware part of the computer. He was building. I think he was an engineering student or something like that, and he was already building uh, stuff and hacking, small time hacking here and there, and getting parts here and there, and soldering things together. So he really had the right tools, and he had the right people around him. Same with Bill Gates. Bill Gates had the right tools, the right people around. Bill Gates' father was rich, so he didn't have to suffer that much compared to, say, Steve Jobs. um, you know, and even Zuckerberg. Zuckerberg was in the right environment in Harvard. He's surrounded by very brilliant uh, students who are helping him come up with Facebook, right? So early on, those guys didn't have to struggle too much with resources. They had the right people, they were in the right time, and there was a niche already for such a market. There was a market for what they were doing. I mean, who was developing software at that time? Not many companies were.
No.
There was Hewlett Packard, HP, IBM was already building its fast computers at the time, but not much competition, you know. So
What about apprenticeship?
yeah,
How how
apprenticeship.
how different is that from mentorship? I mean, to be an apprentice, I mean, you would have to be lucky enough to, I guess, find somebody that can teach you these things. But is it the same as mentorship? Mentorship perhaps is more removed than apprenticeship. Like apprenticeship is closer, and like you have to be really close to the person that you're learning from, right?
Yeah, so between apprenticeship and mentorship, I would say that uh, mentorship is more. I think it's more like a hands-off approach. It's not as involved, in my opinion. I'm thinking it's
Mhm.
like you're doing the work yourself,
Mhm.
and an assigned work, you're doing it, and somebody's there to simply guide you through it. So you're not really, if you have difficulties, then you might be helped in one way or another. But you're working, so somebody can even be uh, in formal education
Mhm.
and be mentored by someone who's gone through the same line of education.
Yeah.
For example, it's a great way of learning, yes, but I think apprenticeship is more effective because in apprenticeship
Mhm.
you are actually seeing what they're doing
Mhm.
and you're learning how precisely how they're doing it. You're also doing precisely
Yeah.
what they're doing at that time.
Yes.
It's a hands-on approach, and then it's more direct. A mentor can be like maybe far away. You give them a call and say, hey, I'm stuck here, how do you do this,
Mhm.
blah blah blah, and the mentor can say, yeah, this is how you do it, you know make sure you do this, but they don't necessarily need to be in the same location as you are.
Did
While
you
with
have a
an
Did you have a
apprentice,
mentor yourself?
sorry.
Did you have a mentor in life?
Yes, I've had a mentor in life. I think high school too. I've had a mentor. Um, if I can remember, I think yeah, I think I've had in college. I did
Mhm.
for a short time. Yes,
Right.
I did have a mentor. Did
I see.
you?
No, I wish I had one.
Yeah, but I don't think it was a formal mentorship in some kind. In the way that they're always there. So I never had somebody who was always there. You know.
Yeah, yeah, I wish. Yeah, I wish I had one. I think it would have made a big difference
Yes, yes, especially in your field too.
in my field. Yes.
Yes, yeah, you need a mentor to be there, somebody to guide you through the process. To In some ways, if you are joined some fraternal for some fraternities
Some fraternity. Yeah.
in school, you would have been mentored.
Yes. Uh,
Yeah,
Maybe, but yeah, I don't know what it was
because
like
the
for
fraternities
those.
do have those programs to mentor others.
Okay.
Yeah, the same in my I don't know in UFT, but in Western we had fraternities you could join.
Yeah, I didn't really know much about them, but there seemed to be more for those science students, I think.
Yes, yes. Yeah, there's a lot for the science students because you do need you need a lot of mentorship. And the thing is that we didn't have also not too many black kids, not too many black groups when I was in college. Yeah, so that opportunity for mentorship was slim.
Mhm.
You know, you
Yes.
yeah,
Hard to find a mentor from your background, man.
very hard. Yeah, it's not easy.
Mhm.
The ones I got access to was for a short time, so it
Mhm.
wasn't like I it would have been nice to have somebody for a longer period of time.
Mhm.
I didn't get that. No,
Yeah.
but I would have loved to have some kind of apprenticeship.
So how did you get into your field? Did you get out of interest? You just found yourself you liked the subject, or was it a logical decision that you decided you're gonna follow you're gonna follow the career that you're in?
Yeah, mine was more a logical decision. I think I knew from the get go what I wanted because from early on, I've always been that kind of a person who was curious about how things work, how machines work,
Mhm.
and I always tore things apart. You know, um, radios. I started with radios, open radios apart, took out the parts, rebuilt it, maybe use the like let's say like motors and stuff like that, other parts of the radio to build other toys. So I was already tinkering with that kind of stuff. I remember even at one point, uh, this uh, this is electronics. Um, the the house, you know, in a house in Nairobi, there was a blown off fuse. So we lost lighting in the kitchen and living room area. And I knew that it would have been up to a blown off fuse when I opened the power cabinet and I saw that the switch was off and I tried turning it on, it wasn't coming on. And I looked and then I turned the entire power grid off for the house and I opened that thing and I looked and I saw that the fuse was burnt and blown off. It was burnt. And I ended up taking there was that found there was a wire. So that's all a fuse is. It's like it's just a wire that controls the resistance of the power that passes through.
Mhm.
And so this wire had melted. Or in my thinking at that time, which was a very dangerous thing I had done, uh, I found it was just a normal copper wire. So I got a copper wire that's similar to that one and removed the burnt out part and placed a new copper wire in it,
Mhm.
a bit thicker. So, and then once I did that, I put back the fuse
Mhm.
and we got light. And that was one of the beginning, that was my beginning days in electronics, you know?
Okay.
And I was excited to have fixed that kind of a problem rather than bring an electrician. But that was dangerous because
Yes.
I didn't know you have to know how to calculate the load that needs to go through that fuse, that wire. You need to get the right thickness and stuff because there's resistance. And so even though I had solved the problem, uh, I was allowing too much power to pass through the load, you know, and so it could have been dangerous in some ways, right?
Mhm.
But that tells you that from early on, I was really interested in computers, in electronics, and stuff like that. So I knew when I got into high school, I knew that I would end up being in the physics, math area, physics, sciences or engineering. That was in my mind the entire time, and even how all throughout high school, I ended up doing all kinds of science projects that were successful. So it just became natural to me. I think it's down to how you think, right, as a person. I do not consider that I was good with people. I don't think I was good with people at the time. Well,
Mhm.
I mean, I interacted well with people, but
Mhm.
I would say people were not the first
Yeah. Yeah.
in line, priorities.
Mhm.
I preferred machines because machines
Yeah.
don't talk back,
Yeah.
and you can do what you want
You
with
can do
them.
what you can do. You can experiment as much as you want.
Yes, yes. So,
It's true.
and also I had this special type of thinking, abstract thinking.
Mhm.
This kind of things just naturally comes to you and you end up in science of some kind, you know.
Mhm.
How about you? How did you think what made you decide to go into politics and
Yeah, it's from the get-go. From primary school, I was sort of the class monitor. And then when I went to high school, I was a class prefect, like one of those prefects. And I liked those topics I liked history and government. They called it history and government. I liked that. And I liked uh, to see the impact of politicians, when how they influence people and things like that. Sort of like, like I could see what people were interested in, at least in terms of the news. It was always about a politician doing this, a politician doing that, right? The politicians were always on the news. And that intrigued me a lot. It intrigued me more than sports, for example. I was more likely to watch a political event than a sports event, than a sporting event. So that and music, politics and music. And I looked at politics and music to be connected because I was listening to certain artists, like, artists like Tupac Shakur, whose messages were more political in nature. I connected the two. And that's how when I decided to go into politics was when I came to Canada eventually. That's when I took it in the university. But when I was in Kenya, in Nairobi, I tried to do the logical thing by saying that, well, since I performed well in sciences as well, I could become a doctor. So I went to the medical school in Nairobi for my undergraduate studies. And that lasted just one semester only. I really lost the passion. I didn't have the passion for it, actually, apart from the fact that I didn't have the money anyway. But if I had the money, I could have switched subjects or switched programs and things like that. But I didn't have the money in the first place. But if I had the money, I would have switched because I lost the passion for it. If somebody had advised me to follow law, I like to go into law, that would have worked actually better. But no one really, it never crossed my mind that I should go into law at all until I came to Canada. And then in Canada, the whole process was gonna take me too long. So I ended up doing the public administration for my specialization as a master's program. Yeah, I ended up taking public administration. So I had international relations and environmental policy and practice in my undergraduate studies, and then I had public administration for my master's program. And then the the problem now is the problem of moving around. Talk of roaming routes. The problem of moving around too much made it very hard for me to be rooted in one particular area. Like I couldn't tell exactly, where I belonged, like where I could make an impact in terms of, yeah, like where I could make an impact in society. So my thinking was then maybe I could go back home and that's where I could be more effective. But then things at home didn't take a good turn when I went back. They got back into war, and the 2013 war started, and then I had to come back to Canada. In 2012, I came back to Canada, planning to go back, but then I couldn't go back. And up until now, I'm still in that dilemma, state of dilemma, in which I don't exactly know where I belong.
Yeah. Yeah, I see. I see what you're saying. It's it's difficult when you don't, and that's not this all ties into the mentorship, right? So if you had a good mentor in your line of study, I think they would have guided you in the correct way.
Yeah.
So you didn't have that type of mentor, so you became a bit lost on what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's especially joining in a university in a different culture. That right there, first you have to adjust to the culture and the environment around you, and before you know it, it's already 2 years in. Next thing now you're comfortable in your second year. Third year you're too busy because you're preparing your thesis now. So by the time you know it, you're done. And so
That's
it's
right.
yeah, it's a fast-paced environment, right? Life goes so
Yeah.
far, so
Yeah.
fast, so goes quickly. you know
Yes,
I
that's right.
was, yeah, in a sense I was lucky. I think because I knew precisely what I wanted to do. I did have difficulties, but at least like in my uh, first year and stuff, I had some work study programs which
Yeah.
I got involved in, and there were small things here and there. Was uh, one, I worked in labs around campus, testing sensors,
Yeah.
so that's kind of like it's not a hard job, but it was exciting to be doing that, even though it was like repetitive.
Yeah.
I was working in labs helping professors, at one point. And another point, uh, I was working in the IT um, office, the
hmm
information technology office,
hmm
you know, helping students fix problems with their computers.
hmm
I got that position because I had already started. I was studying. No, I had my what they call CompTIA certification in Kenya, A
hmm
plus, for
hmm
computers. So I learned the hardware components of the computer and tied in with software. And so it made me an ideal candidate when I applied for a position on campus in the IT department so that played into my favor. But at the same time, I've also felt lost, just like you at one point.
hmm
Felt confused, switching from this department to another,
Yeah.
switching from engineering to back to science. So
Yes. But you did not have a problem with the math, right? You did not have
no,
problem with
I did not
the
have a
progression.
problem with the math.
Yeah.
Math was my strongest, I think,
That's
subject
great.
in high school.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's always A's. I always had A's in math
Those
in
my
high
weakest.
school. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that wasn't a problem. Yeah. The
Yeah.
problem was just the balancing work life, school,
hmm
um, culture, you
So
know.
do you plan to sort of not mentor, but well, I guess at this point it could be mentor, could be apprenticeship. I mean,
Yeah, I can,
given what you're doing in terms of
yeah,
your kids, that's what I'm trying to see. Like,
yes, yes,
will
yes.
you try to kind of make them into some kind of apprentices for yourself?
Yes, yes. So with my kids,
Yeah.
they're in their early stages right now, and I know I
Yeah.
have a pretty good idea what they want. or
Yeah.
what their passion is. I'm trying to determine it. If I can be successful in determining their precise passions, then I
Yeah.
can guide them properly. So,
At
now
what
I know,
age?
yes. So
I wonder at what age do you realize somebody, and do you get to realize that this is their passion?
it's
Pretty
because
early, right?
yeah, we each one of us, I think we unfold to the idea of ourself,
Mhm.
the core self, slowly all throughout the years, And some people are slower at it. Some people are quicker.
Mhm.
If you, the parent, let the kid explode, then they get there quicker. So
Let
like
them
my
explore,
kid,
right? Okay.
yeah, my kid, the one who's 5, I see that he's artistically minded. He loves pictures. Loves pictures, loves to take photos,
Mhm.
loves people,
Okay.
loves talking to people and stuff like that. So, uh, when I see that, I
Mhm.
simply decide to guide him by giving him more stuff along those lines. Like I would give him my drone, let him fly it, let him take videos of the surrounding, or give him the phone, let him play around with it, and
Mhm.
then my eldest, is more, he has that engineering mindset. He loves to build, he
Mhm.
loves to build things.
Mhm.
And I discovered that since he was like 4.
Mhm.
I discovered because I would always bring Lego and all kinds of toys, and he would build. And the other time I found, when it was like 5 or whatever, and just using some threads,
Mhm.
he built a zip line, and I don't know, did what, and next thing I know, I see something sliding down the zip line, and I was like, oh, that's interesting, So I always encourage him. Last time, I had them build. We built a clay bridge
Mhm.
together, and when we're doing it, I explain some of the basic concepts of engineering forces, this force versus some physics, some small physics, not like,
Mhm.
something complicated, but this is enough to get them interested, you know. And yeah, so the thing is, now I have to encourage him
Mhm.
to to do to read more, to be interested in reading more. So I
Mhm.
usually have like on Sunday, so we set aside a time for him
Right.
to read more, because I
Right.
discover this power in reading,
Yes.
and reading, which is interesting when I looked at the some research, is that math and reading seems to go together. You're If you're good at math, it's easy for you to understand the languages better.
Mhm. Okay.
Easy. Yes. So and also, if you're really good in reading and comprehension, like I make him read and write. So I make him read what he reads, what he reads, and then he writes that on paper. So in a summary, I make him summarize what he has written, and I
Mhm.
find that it develops the mind in such a way that you get this imagination. If you're able to retell a story in your own words, so he's
Mhm.
writing things in his own words. If you're able to do that, uh, then you should be able to simply create anything your own. You know, uh, you can create any story. You know, I
Okay.
like
Mhm.
I like literature, for
Mhm.
example, and
Mhm.
literature. made me love, begin to like politics.
Okay. Okay.
Why? Because um, as a 5 or 6 years old, a
Hmm.
kid,
Hmm.
my dad got us a copy of the animal, um, George Orwell's Animal Farm,
Hmm.
and that first copy made me think of all the problems that governments were causing.
Hmm.
And it mirrored the society I was living in. I was comparing that to what I was seeing later on in high school when we actually uh, did the animal farm. We did it in Swahili. We did the animal farm,
Yeah.
and we studied it as a book, a literature book, and it made me see clearly what the problems are in society.
Yes.
In a sense, it guided me to become like an anarchist.
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
know, yeah. I think for the most part, since high school, I was an anarchist. Yeah, because I saw all the problems that we were seeing in society,
Yeah.
and I
You didn't
saw.
like, you didn't like the system as it was, huh?
No, I didn't like it. That time there was Moi was the president, President Moi
Yes.
in Kenya, and I saw the corruption that they were doing, and then I'll when I tied this all to colonialism, everything fits. When you read the Animal Farm, you see the characters come up,
Yes.
and oh, that it made me critical of government, you know.
Okay.
Uh, so yeah, I think maybe you also did
We
because
did the same.
nowadays, yeah, we did Animal Farm.
Yeah, we
We
did
did
the same.
another one called Amizidi.
We did the same. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and
I
then
didn't like the Amazidi, of course.
yeah, yeah, and another one was the river and the source.
The river and the source. Yes.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
those kind of things it gave me um, the ability to reason out, to argue my points out. That's
Mm-hmm.
how I like why I like literature, is because it can help you reason out your points, and you
Yeah.
build themes around your points, you know. So maybe you had the same experience because we all uh, went through the same school system.
Through the same school system. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Same experience. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So now, I mean, we're looking into, I mean, we stop at 2:30 here, basically in about 20 minutes
Yeah, I think
or
2:30
less.
is okay.
Yeah. I mean, and then we have the follow-up to this segment on education. We have the follow-up, which is talking about the school that you started, or you are a
Yeah,
director.
that my
You are
mom
one of the
started.
directors for.
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that school. Like, I guess you're just following the regular curriculum, but is there any special way you're using to educate these kids as more like something different from the usual?
Yeah, the kids it's okay. First of all, the Mama Helen School is a school located in
What is it called?
Abada.
Mama Helen School?
Yes, Mama Helen School. Mama
Okay.
Helen Nursery and Primary School.
I imagine Helen is your mom.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Helen is my mom, and she has been in government in South Sudan,
Hmm.
Undersecretary of Labor.
Okay. Is she still
And
there?
no, she's not in the
No longer
government
there.
anymore. Yeah,
Okay.
but when she left the government, she
Hmm.
decided to start the school,
Okay.
and the school started with a few students.
Hmm.
Now we have over 150 of them,
Hmm.
and then we have many teachers. We have several teachers, many of those from Uganda.
Okay.
Yeah, and the school has been doing quite well. It's following the South Sudan curriculum,
Okay.
the Sudan certificate or whatever it is,
Right.
and it's been consistently performing. I would say so that in the past couple of years,
Hmm.
since 2018, I think
Hmm.
it has been between number one, two, and three.
Okay.
Yeah, last exam it was the first, it was the
Hmm.
best in that county and in
Hmm.
the Eastern Equatoria region. I
Yeah.
think it must have been the second in Eastern Equatoria.
Yeah.
So it's done very well, and the students, they I understand they all passed. So there's
Wow.
no one who's left behind. They're all going to high school.
High school.
Yeah. So
Nice.
and all the high schools around Magui and other areas are always looking for
Hmm.
those students.
Hmm.
So they're in demand, you
Hmm.
know. Now,
So these teachers that you get, you get professional teachers, or you get people that have come from different backgrounds to teach.
we get professional teachers. It's really hard, to be honest.
Hmm.
It's hard to get teachers, South Sudanese teachers, you know.
Professional teachers.
Yes, not many
So,
have the experience. They might be educated in some way,
yeah.
but no experience in teaching, you know.
But that brings me to the question then. Do you need somebody that's professionally trained as a teacher to be the teacher, or can you have somebody from a different background to be a teacher?
You need somebody who has the professional training, because at
To
least
be a
that kind
teacher.
of, yeah, that person is
Hmm.
able to work. Someone who's able to work with kids, it's a difficult job. Teaching is not
Hmm.
easy. That's
Yeah.
why we hired many of those teachers are from Uganda,
Hmm.
and because Uganda, you know, is well established in that area.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
have teaching colleges and stuff like that. South Sudan is
Hmm.
still young.
Yeah.
They don't have they don't have the facilities, you know. I don't
Mm.
even know if we have a teachers college.
I don't know.
It's something that I suggested to Equatoria Forum one time. I said
Mhm.
we need a teachers college in South Sudan.
There was something, I think something along those lines when I was living in 2012, that is around 10 years ago, some discussion in that area.
Yes, yes, yeah. If we
Or at least I saw something demarcated as a place for teaching, for training teachers or something.
Yeah, yeah. Otherwise, we would have nowhere to get the best the good teachers.
Yeah.
Where are we going to get them from? Somebody qualified. You know, we have to dig. We have to look in Uganda. You know,
Okay. Okay.
that's the thing. So yeah, many of them are there, and they live on in the school grounds.
Hmm.
So we we're building right now a teachers complex.
Hmm.
Well, it's like a dining hall with a teachers complex. So like where they would actually live
Hmm.
and eat at the same time.
Hmm.
So and the school is expanding.
Hmm.
So hopefully it would expand into a secondary school.
Nice.
It all depends on the money. Right now, we are relying on donors most of the times.
From
We do,
outside,
uh,
from outside of South.
yes, outside donors. Yeah, we are. There's a group. I'm a part of the board. We do
Hmm.
have a group in the U.S.
Hmm.
That help in fundraising,
Hmm.
and yeah, and they're the ones that are helping to take care of the teacher salary
Hmm.
and the students who cannot afford, like the students that cannot afford right now, we are actually providing scholarships for them. So
Hmm.
and each some donors in the US have decided to take over the sponsorship of these students.
Hmm.
So anybody can sponsor. We simply, even South Sudanese were there, we say, you know, pick a kid. We give you the profile of the kid.
Hmm.
You look at the kid
Hmm.
that you want to sponsor, and you go ahead and you put your money down.
Hmm.
Yeah, and it's working well so far. So with what we're doing, The kids eat there too at the school compound.
Okay.
They cook
Okay.
food for them.
Hmm.
Yeah. And yeah,
That's
maybe
amazing.
I'll show the video,
That's amazing. Yeah.
of the school, how it looks like.
Yeah. If you can show that. Yeah.
Yeah. A drone video. I went there, and
Hmm.
this was actually they got very curious, and I went
Hmm.
there with some of them have never seen a drone before.
Well, I mean, I personally haven't used a drone before.
Yes, yes. So that when they saw that, wow, they had so many questions,
Yeah.
and I was helping answer them. And I had hoped
Yeah.
that has. I hope it triggered
Hmm.
some other student there. I hope it triggered their skill set. Maybe they
Hmm.
would want to learn how this thing works one day and build their own.
And build their own. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm hoping. I was helping when I was there.
Hmm.
I was helping their. I was helping them build their IT department. So
Hmm.
we took a lot of computers,
Yeah.
laptops, printers, and
Hmm.
stuff like that.
Hmm.
And I was helping them set up a computer lab. So
Okay.
yeah, we think that the students, it's high time the students had a lesson in computers. The only
Yes.
problem is I don't have the time to teach. I hope we're trying to find somebody who can teach them
Yeah.
computers. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe you could start going there and doing and seeing how you can eventually, that might be something that you end up doing after your current job.
Yes, yes, yeah.
You end up teaching. That would be, I mean, not necessarily being just the teacher, but like the director of the program,
Yeah, yeah.
whatever
I
the
would I
program
would
is.
love to initially to be there to
Yeah.
make sure the lab uh, is standing. And what
Yeah.
I'm thinking of is not just a normal lab. It would be like a
Mhm.
lab with computers, and then there would be another room for a studio. So
Yeah. And you
yeah,
still have your skills in music, right? Like in
yes,
production. In
yes,
production.
yes. And I hope students would be there
Yeah.
in the studio learning how to
Hmm.
do sound engineering,
Hmm.
learning how to create music.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's great. Yeah. So sound engineering, is that something that I mean, you also, like you can mix and all that kind of thing, right?
yes, imagine you know how I learned this. My the first computer we ever got
Yeah.
in my entire neighborhood.
Hmm.
I had the first computer in
Hmm.
our house.
Imagine.
And
Yeah.
we got that computer by luck. I think it was like must have been thrown away by some company.
Hmm.
And I got the computer
Hmm.
upgraded because I was learning what we call A plus. A
A
plus
plus.
helps you learn how the components of the computer, like
Right.
the hardware.
Hmm.
So it helped me upgrade that computer a little bit, and it became a bit fast.
Hmm.
And then I installed the first program I installed
Hmm.
was FL Studio, Fruity Loops.
Right. FL Studio. Yes.
Fruity Loops was just version 3
Hmm.
when I installed it. And then I installed that game called Mortal Kombat. So you
MK.
can imagine that was in the 90s, late 90s.
Yeah, I remember kids playing that game, but I never touched it, but I used to hear about it.
Yes, so our house became the hub for all the neighborhood kids because of that single computer. So they would
Amazing.
all come and we would record. We had a simple mic.
That's the advantage of being given these tools
Yes, yes, we were all there. We would create all kinds of beats. Me and another friend of mine, we would compete.
Mhm.
We would compete on creating beats, and then we would learn
Nice.
how to judge.
Nice.
And then it went on like that until this guy took it serious. He started recording his own music.
Mhm.
And then I managed to sell my first beat for 2,000 shillings.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Nice.
It was magical.
Amazing.
I felt like, hey, I could actually make money from this.
Yeah.
And 2,000 shillings, that
Mhm.
was a lot.
At that time, yeah. Yes, it
Yes,
was.
yes.
Yeah.
So, those that kind of, so as you can see, I started early
Hmm.
learning about computers. That took me in a direction I'm in now, working in IT.
Hmm.
Those things, if the students can learn computers in that manner, you know,
Yeah.
they would go far. Imagine somebody in the village. Many of those students are from the village. Their
Yeah.
parents don't have much. Their parents
Hmm.
rely on growing crops, food crops,
Hmm.
and some of them pay their school fees with food crops. We allow that. They will bring like cassava, sweet potatoes, and stuff. We would take that as a
Hmm.
part of the school fees.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Good idea. Good idea.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, hopefully my mom will talk more about that.
for sure.
Is She has really been interested in education. You know, she's
Amazing.
she's always from a very young age.
Hmm.
She's always been trying to improve our environment, our society, right?
Amazing. Yeah,
So yeah, you'll definitely get to hear more.
for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. Yes, so ladies and gentlemen, we were here briefly discussing about education, and we're comparing and contrasting, and hopefully you've picked up one, two, three, four, five things that can help you, and we're hoping that maybe you're inspired. Most important thing is that you're inspired by what we're discussing at the Roaming Roots, and subscribe and share the video. We'll be bringing more content like this and better. So see you next time at the Roaming Roots.